So as always, we are CPA. We hunt down like the best presenters and speakers all over the world, and we found Miranda Ruiz. So she will be presenting today on cultivating a growth mindset amidst of ongoing change. And with everything that's going on, look it. I told Miranda this afternoon when I talked to her, it's like divine timing. This is the time for her to be here, and thank you, Miranda, and welcome. And here she is, CPA. Here she is.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. I'm just so excited to be here. I was telling Christina that, I mean, when I discovered your organization, I thought, wow, I had no idea such an organization existed, and to know that you're all on, the same mission, helping people get to the types of jobs they need to get into, getting them prepared, and everything else. I mean, it's just a real, a needed service that our people need, provided to them. So, and I got to attend some of the classes yesterday. I have to tell you, what a great conference, amazing presenters, great relevant topics. I'm very impressed, by everything. When I was looking at the questions in the chat, I mean, it's so clear. So many of you are really engaged with what you're doing, really invested in the job seekers that you're helping. I mean, it just really touched my heart, because I feel like you're really connected to the people you're working with. I saw things, everything from hard skills that you guys were talking about, asking great questions, technology and all these other new and upcoming topics that are very important for people to learn. The soft skills, the same, what do they call them? The same culprits keep coming up. People are talking about enhancing their communication skills. They're talking about being able to collaborate and all these. So we're going to talk about some of these things later today. But I really want to tell you, what was really touching too was the fact that the awareness that I saw. I mean, you folks were addressing things, asking questions about very basic but vital things like food security. I mean, it just sounds like you guys are really in tune with the people you're working with. My heart is just overflowing with gratitude. And I just thought, this is exactly where I want to be right now. So you better believe it. I wasn't going to let any of these obstacles get in the way. Someone even, a dear friend of mine texted me yesterday, and it was really strange. She had no idea I was doing this. And she said, just wanted to let you know, I'm really thinking about you, because I know you're going to be coming up against some pretty big obstacles. And I thought, where did she get that? But here we are, but we got through, and thank you for your patience. I got to hand it to you. You guys have had 2 pretty full days. I was able to attend, like I said, some of the classes yesterday, and I really enjoyed it, and we're in a time right now where, we're in the second quarter already. Today's the 15th day of the second quarter of this new year. Lots and lots of things are changing on a daily basis, sometimes hourly. Sometimes I'll go to lunch, I come back, check my email, and things are different. I can't imagine for you when you've got these positions that you're filling, and you've got these people that you're preparing to do this. So kudos to you guys. And like I said, thank you again for your hard work. What I wanted to, I mean, and this is so neat. I'm looking, and you guys look like your people are still pretty perky, and I'm excited about that. That's great. And and what I wanted to talk about today is, we're in the middle of an amazing transition, right? So much is going on. Restrictions are being adjusted. The capacity as far as how many people can go into buildings, the number of people that are allowed in, that's changing. And we're hearing the lyrics to our favorite song. Our favorite song is playing. And what are the lyrics? Things like now hiring, join our team, apply now, music to our ears, right? And music to the ears of the people that you're working with. So again, with that being said, I'm excited because, you guys were so kind to thank me for my perseverance. I want to thank you for yours. These meetings, the way that we're connecting with each other has changed, right? Do you remember the good old days when you heard, everyone, we're going to get started. 2 minutes till starting time. Remember when you were at different functions, and that's what we would hear. And now, people are, you get on and you see different things, like maybe, I don't know, have you guys ever seen this in a meeting? And we're waiting for people to start, but this is going on. And, or, now, people are, kind of tired, or kind of, maybe they've had a long day. I'll show you my favorite. My favorite is when people are on Zoom and we're all wanting to get this done. It's the last part of the day, and this is what you hear. Have you ever heard that? Have you ever heard that during a meeting? And everybody is kind of like thinking, oh my gosh, does she know that her mute button is off? And let me hear it again. And maybe, some of us are thinking, okay, why don't you just get a bite already so we can finish the meeting and get going and, start our evening with our family already. But, like I said, it's just a different time, different things that we are adjusting to. So I'm going to go over a few things today. I'm going to talk a little bit about myself, just kind of to introduce you to introduce myself to you. I'm going to talk about what a fixed mindset is. And then I'm going to talk about what a growth mindset is. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to talk with you a little bit about cultivating a growth mindset, and I want to show you how it's essential in increasing retention in the workplace. Okay. And if we can, we'll see about some questions, but if not, you're definitely going to have my contact information after this presentation, and you are welcome to give me a call. Okay. And so you're going to go ahead and get that. So first of all, a little bit about myself. I'm a speech language pathologist, and I have my background is from neuro-rehabilitation. So I've worked really hard to help people who have been in really tough places. It's just been such a great experience that I was able to gain as I worked in the hospitals. And I also have some of my background in education, because before I became a speech and language pathologist, I thought I was going to be a teacher. That's where I started. And then I talked to someone and I asked them, I said, what do I need to do to specialize in the way people think, the way they work, the way their minds work, the way their brains work in making decisions and doing all these other things. So they sent me to this field and I just fell in love. I took classes and I just stayed on board with it. And I also have worked in in recruitment and screening and training and all kinds of other things related to that scope of work. And then in addition to that, oh my gosh, I've been a caregiver, like a lot of you. We have family members or people we love who just face challenges, that come up, and we take care of them. We love them and we do what we can. So that's the perspective that I bring. And I want to kind of clear up a few things before we get started. Some of the subject matter that I'll be talking about, that I'll be touching on, may include things like disorders or diseases. I just want to let you know that everything we talk about today is informational, and it should not be considered medical advice. So, it's because of my appreciation for neuroscience, I touch on these things because wow, I mean, these amazing experts have done lots of work. So it'd be a shame not to be able to get some of those concepts and see how we could use them in everyday life, right? So, like I said, if there is something that raises concern, or, you're thinking, hey, that sounds like somebody that, in my family who's experiencing that or whatever, please consult your healthcare professional. Early intervention is best, and we want people to get the assistance, the help they need with anything that may come up. So again, this is, just informational, wanting people to learn, about how we can apply some of these things. So today, I think I'll start with a little. I told you a little bit about me. I just want to talk with you a little bit about a person that I got to know. I had a person that I had met, and this individual had gone through a lot of training, education, shadowing. He did all his homework to get started to go into a job. And, it was, we were just really excited for him. And right before he went, he talked to me about it because I'd been keeping in touch with him and talking about all the things that to help him out with the planning and whatnot. And he got in contact with me and he said, Miranda, I don't know if I'm going to go. And I said, what are you talking about? He said, I don't know if I'm going to go. He said, I have been just, contemplating this whole thing, and I got this job offer. I'm excited about it, but I just can't see myself leaving because what about my family? What if somebody gets sick? What my grandparents are getting older? What if somebody passes away? And he's, started going into all these scenarios that can just, take place. It went from family concerns all the way over to things like, my workplace. Look at the things that are happening. I mean, people are going to work and things, dangerous events are taking place. And he said, and what about, and he went, on about all these things that could happen. And he was going to travel. He said, and it looks like they're going to even expect me to travel. And I thought, I felt my heart went out to him. But this kind of comes up. Sometimes we have, these plans, we're going to do this or that. And then we think, well, or the people we work with, I should say, think, well, gosh, can I really make this move? What if this happens? What if that happens? And then you have other scenarios where people are kind of, they complete their training and everything, and they've got this great package, right? Everything, I've got my training together, I've got my education, just like this young man, and I've got so much going, and they go and they actually start their positions and everything. We love packages. We love everything in a nice, neat package, don't we? The education, the training, the interviewing has gone great. I've gotten the great mentorship that I needed. So, okay, everything's set. Then they go and they start their job, and they are excited, right? Things are going well. They've got, it's like, wow, I finished my education and training. I actually have extra money to buy little things that I never bought for myself, right? So they might be, a little bit different financially. Or maybe they're excited because now they've got the time. They're not so stressed with school and work and trying to balance family. Maybe they're going to take their family on a little trip. Maybe they're going to go on a voyage, maybe on some sort of a journey, maybe, so they get excited about that. They're able to do that now. And not only that, maybe they've met new friends and they're just, all excited, new friends, new memories. And then sometimes something different happens. They go and they get started and everything else, they get settled in. And then maybe they have a coworker. In case you can't see that, it's a rat. It's a rat dressed in a lab coat. So maybe they've gotten an obnoxious coworker that they didn't expect to run into at the job. And so in case you didn't understand that, he says we take Blue Cross, Blue Shield, and blue cheese. I'm sorry, that's one of my favorite little doodads. But anyway, so they maybe they started a new job and they've come across these obstacles that they did not expect. same type of thing can happen. Then they move. They say, you know what? I'm not going to work here. I think I'll go look for something better because there's got to be something better. And that's where the issue kind of starts. Because let me ask you, do you think that if they move from one environment to another, that it's going to be brand new, all better, no problems, no issues, no drama? What do you think? You think they're going to run into the same type of thing once in a while? Absolutely, right? Because sometimes, that's just the way it is. That's life. We know a lot about that. If you've worked in what you've been doing for a while, and you've worked one job or another, you know that these are the types of things that we run into wherever we go. So let's and so for those reasons, like I said, I think it's important for people to have a really good preparation as to what can go wrong, what can happen, what to be prepared for, and to know that this is just real life, that some of these things are going to be wherever they go. Okay, so let's talk about a fixed mindset. Oh, I forgot one thing. If you have any, I'm not too sure if we're going to be able to get to some questions, but if you do have a question, you can do me a favor, please, and put it in the chat box. But before you type in your question, would you please put in 2 question marks? That way they're easy for us to see when we pull up a chat. Okay. All right, let's talk about what a fixed mindset is. A fixed mindset includes a thought process that we are not in control of our abilities. And it's somewhat better to avoid challenges than to make mistakes. Okay, that's a fixed mindset. So, it's kind of like, I'm born this way. I don't, I don't think I can learn that. It's not part of my skills, my skill set. Um, I've tried it a couple of times. I've failed. It's not meant to be. And a fixed mindset can also involve the way we perceive things with other people. It can be kind of like, well, there's this group working and there's this person who's in the middle of everything. And boy, she sure knows her stuff. She's doing such a great job. They've invited me to join, they've invited me to work with that group, but I'm not going to do it because they're so good. They know what they're doing. How am I going to just go in there and start working? And that is something that holds a lot of people back, right? And there's a fixed mindset, like I said, can be, it can be a major hindrance. It can be something really small, like I had this aunt and she used to make everything when she had a potluck or something. I never wanted to take anything because everything that she set out was like so perfect. It looked like a magazine, a picture from a gourmet magazine or something. I mean, it was just awesome. So when I'd come with my meal, it didn't look anything like that. So it was hard, and I didn't want to show up with my measly little, bowl of this or that. So, that was kind of my fixed mindset, not saying, well, you know what, I'm just going to try it. And people might not like the way it looks, but you know what? I know it tastes really good and they're going to enjoy it. No, I'm kind of dampening, um, my my abilities, right? So now we'll talk about what a growth mindset is. A growth mindset includes a process that we are in control of our abilities, that we learn and we grow from our failures as we are focused on the process of gradual improvement. We're not focused on, of course, you want to have your end game in mind when you do anything, right? You want to have your, what do I need to focus on to get there? People who are athletes, people who are, have long-term plans, they know how to do it. That this is what they do. They pace themselves and everything else. So, that growth mindset allows us to be able to do that, to think in that frame of mind. I'm not going to be discouraged. Okay, that I tried it this way, it didn't work, but you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to try it a different way. I'm going to, Some people go full-fledged MacGyver on stuff. I'm going to try this in this way. I'm going to use this tool to do that. And as you know, when you guys provide people with training opportunities, you see some people who just totally get, they pull from the wide variety of skills that they've acquired. And it's wonderful to see that. But again, unfortunately, some people aren't able to do that automatically, you know, and and there's several reasons why that can take place. Okay. One thing is sometimes there are myths that stand in our way. We buy into these myths, I did it for quite some time, and maybe some of you have done the same thing. You say, well, that's not something that I want to practice because I already know I'm not good at that. For years, I said, I'm not a technology person. I really enjoy this contact, this one-on-one contact. And of course, before all of this happened, that was my ideal way to connect with people. Oh, I love to see people in person. I'd go to this place and speak, or go to that place and hear a great speaker. And it was just neat. Lots of meetings, lots of different committees and whatnot. So when all this happened, I could not, I mean, just to say I'm not a technology person anymore. I mean, it wasn't just, I couldn't do it anymore because I had to learn, right? And we find out, like I did today, you can be as prepared as anything, and something can still go wrong. So we've learned to, I've learned to go through things, be calm, go through the process, and get to where I need to be, and try to be aware of where I'm at in that process. So that's one thing we're talking about. I was just telling you about myths. The other thing is there are cycles, right? Cycles in the way of, I wasn't good. I'm not good at this. Or I've had this vice, or I've had this terrible habit, or I've had, whatever the case may be. My dad had this, and his dad had this. They experienced that for a long time. So why do I think that I can do better? How can I possibly think that I'm different from that? So that's another thing, people fall into the belief that, they're in this cycle that they can't step out of. And so that's a thing that can happen. And so when we look at these things, I want you to just keep that in mind, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch gears on you a little bit. And I want to tell you how we can cultivate the growth mindset. Okay. I'm a very visual person. So I'm going to give you some, some information, and what I'm going to do is talk with you a little bit about trees. I live in the Central Valley, the beautiful Central Valley in California. And, we've got it all here. We've got it all here in California, and I just love it. I can drive up north, I can drive down south, and two different worlds. And it's just wonderful, but the same group of people who are just awesome to be around, right? So in the Central Valley, we're known for our produce. We love our ag. You can come any time of the year, and you can drive through, and you're going to see the beautiful fields, you're going to see the orchards and everything else. And we love our produce. So a lot of us have actually started to grow things right in our home. We have things like fruit trees, we have vines, our own plants, whatever the case may be. Well, in order to make that those trees more plentiful, more fruitful, we've learned how to prune. So if I'm imagining some of you know what pruning is, but just in case, I'm going to talk a little bit about pruning. Okay. First of all, let's talk about why we prune. Okay. We prune for three reasons. There are more, but I'm just going to talk about this. Pruning balances the growth by removing restrictive overgrowth or dead branches. Okay. Again, I want to say it again. Pruning balances growth by removing restrictive overgrowth or dead branches. Number two, it gives dormant buds a fighting chance to flourish. Okay, so when we remove all that dead stuff, there's some dormant buds in there hidden sometimes, and it gives them a fighting chance to flourish. And then ultimately, it increases the fruit production. It increases the fruit quality. Okay, so keep those three things in mind. Okay, as we go on. Okay, so let's take a look at the concept of pruning. And what I'd like to do is explore how a similar process can help us to capitalize on the outcomes that we see in relation to pruning, to cutting away a fixed mindset in order to cultivate a growth mindset. Okay.
Miranda, can I interrupt you really quick? I'm
Of
sorry.
course. No,
Do you have a PowerPoint that you're showing? I'm just kind of wondering. No, okay. I was kind of doing this, and I'm one of those visuals, and I'm like, is there a PowerPoint? What am I looking at? Go, let me
no,
ask.
I'm
I
gonna
apologize for interrupting you, but I just
no,
needed to know.
no,
Thank
I'm
you.
glad you did because I'll clarify that. And I should have mentioned it before. To be honest, I typically don't use PowerPoints because my presentations are usually a bit more on the conversational side.
Which is great.
Yeah, because I don't know. I know people see a lot of PowerPoints, so I try to, keep that in consideration.
Okay, thank you so much,
No,
and I apologize
no,
for interrupting you, Miranda. Thank
anytime.
you.
Because you could have put something in the chat, but I'm going to be honest. I'm not looking at the chat right now, because I'm not that talented.
No,
So
you're fabulous. Thank you.
thank you. So anyway, like I said, let's talk about how that works in the way of balancing growth. All right. When we're looking at balancing growth by removing restrictive overgrowth and the dead branches, we're going to think about what hindrances need to be trimmed back because we've let them grow out of control. Okay. What hindrances are holding us back from going where we need to go? And these typically come from two places. Okay. They can come from us, right? Any self-imposed restrictions that are serving as dead weight, maybe they're overwhelming or unrealistic goals. It could be anything like that. And I want to tell you, you've probably heard this by now, but it's been established that positive self-talk has actually been found to be beneficial, right? We talk our way through things. We in this time that we've been at home in isolation, I bet we've done a lot of that, right? I hope we have. And so, like I said, it's been real helpful in helping people get things done, see where they're at, and the literature actually suggests that negative self-talk is not, well, it's not good in the way of it can increase our stress levels, and it can bring on a host of problems, right? Like I was telling you earlier, once we say, no, I can't do that. No, oh, man, I am just terrible at this. I can never get this right. What we do is we get all that information going and it totally just derails us rather than give us the opportunity to see how we can approach something in a different way. Okay. So, like I said, we want to try to get that positive talk going because that's what's going to help us to say, you know what, I'm going to learn this. Let's see what I can do about learning that instead of, getting myself, worked up and saying, I'm just going to give up. I'm just going to give up. It's not worth it. So we need to, dare to learn stuff that we never thought we were capable of. I had a very challenging class when I first went to community college, and I was taking a class for the umpteenth time. I couldn't get it. I just couldn't get it. So it was really neat because I found me a study buddy, and this lady was awesome. She was just on it, and she was very diligent. She was very supportive. She was something else. And this was, a math class that, of course, like I said, was giving me a hard time back then. Do you know what? She was a 77-year-old lady. Interesting, fascinating, and she kept me on my toes. I was taking 2 classes. She was taking 6 classes. She had a dual major going. She was she was raising, or I don't know even know what you call it, but she had flowers. She had her own business where she was raising flowers and selling them to florists. And so she was taking horticulture, but she was also taking these business classes. I mean, just phenomenal, phenomenal. So, we when we see other people doing this, isn't it just so encouraging, because, she's just breaking the mold. So that's one of the ways that we, have these restrictions, right? Self-imposed. The other can be, those dead branches can be provided by others. It can be something said, or it can be the way someone made us feel, and I talk to people about this all the time, because, sometimes people don't know how powerful, how impactful their words can be. And it doesn't have to be verbalized words, right? They don't have to be words that have been vocalized. They can be words, it can be a message, a nonverbal message. And boy, do those stick. They really do. So we need to be careful. And it can be easy to send a message that we didn't intend to, you know. I once met a young lady a long time ago when I was interviewing, and she was really neat. She was wanting to get a job, and I saw her resume, and I thought, wow, it was a little bit different. I'll call it potpourri-ish, because it was kind of like potpourri, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And she's applying for this job. And so I said, because sometimes what we do is we omit some important information. We might not show everything that is applicable to the job we're applying for. So I told her, I said, let me give you the job description. Would you like to see it? Because I thought maybe I want to give her the benefit of the doubt. I want her to look at the job description, and maybe she's going to recognize something that she can do, right? So I give her the job description. She looks at it and she says, okay, I can do that. I'm going to do that. I'll do that. Oh, I'm not going to do that. I won't do that. I don't do that. I don't even know that. And I'm thinking, I want to tell her in my, but I'm not. I want to tell her, it's a job description. You do know it's not a menu, right? Because she's trying to pick out what she wants to do. But, I had to think about it and wait. And I thought, wait a minute, when I first got married, I didn't know how to cook. I didn't know how to do a lot of things. And it wasn't out of laziness. It was just, I had KP duty. I had cleanup duty in the kitchen when I was young. So I thought, let's look at it in a different, give her a different approach. And I asked her, if somebody was able to teach you these things, would you do them? Would you be willing to? And she said, well, yeah, but I've never had anybody show me how to do these things, And so that's what I'm saying. We have to be careful, because sometimes people have come into our programs or our applicant pool, and it's not that necessarily disinterest. It's not necessarily lack of motivation or initiation. Sometimes they've just not had that opportunity or the support, right? So those were 2 different examples of hindrances that come from within and from others, okay? And so the next thing I wanted to talk about was I'm just going to move on up to something to figure out, keep that in mind, where are your dead branches coming from? And then let's talk about those dormant buds and giving them a fighting chance to flourish. Sometimes we have these hopes, we have dreams, we have planned endeavors, and they're patiently waiting for their their place in the sun, right? They're waiting for that time to come through. And what we do is we need to dig that. What we do is when we move those branches, we're actually digging them out from under the shadow of the overgrowth. And we're committing ourselves to letting them grow. And they need to be protected. They need to be nourished, right? We're going to protect them from the harmful elements like shortcomings, setbacks, stress, right? We're going to provide them with abundant access to nutrient dense enrichments, right? We want them to grow. We're going to fertilize them. We're going to feed them. We want them to grow. So, you know, when we do that, what we need to do is form new strategies. So we think about things, we reevaluate things. What worked before? Is it still working now? Do we need to readjust those strategies? Do we need to find a different pathway to get to a certain place? And another thing we can do to give these buds a chance, right? We need to look at mentoring opportunities, okay? And when we say that this needs to be done, we need to also show people how to look for this on their own, because mentoring opportunities don't always come up easily or are offered to us right away. We need to show people how to go to a place, a new place to work, and scope out the place, scope out the people, see who is doing something that I want to learn how to do, right? Who is moving into a direction that I think is important, that I think is exciting, right? So we ask them to do that, okay? And we also show them how to start grooming themselves for mentoring. I think that's really important. Long time ago, I started to hear that going around about, you know, getting yourself, leaving a legacy. You hear people talking about that all the time. And for some of us who aren't, you know, real, you know, a little more humble, maybe, it's tough. They don't, you know, people don't easily step into that role. It's like, gosh, what am I going to teach someone? I'm new here too. How am I going to know what I'm supposed to do, what they're supposed to learn? So I think it's important to make people aware of, you know, the importance of that, of that they do have something to offer, that they do come with these great skills, and it's, you know, a continued learning process for everybody. So, you know, that's another thing that we can do to help those buds grow. And let me see. Oh, here's another thing. This is something that isn't always taught. Self-care, actively practicing self-care. And I'm not talking about the bubble bath. I've put on some talks at different places, and, you know, it's too funny because everybody kind of knows where we're at when I say something like, Calgon, take me away, right? And that's not everything. We can't, it's great if you have the time to do that, but there's a lot of different ways that we can practice self-care that you know, we not dreamed of, right? So, and I'm going to go just briefly through some of the things that are the common things that people refer to when they talk about self-care. They talk about diet, you know, eating well, making sure you're eating enough, staying hydrated, right? All those things, exercising, getting enough sleep. You know, it's really important. It's really important. That gives our body the time it needs to heal, right? And, you know, I can't tell you what your needs are, but I tell you what, there are a lot of people who, even more so recently, are not going to the doctor, not going to, if they have something going on, they're not addressing very important medical needs, or maybe they're not going to their annual checkups. I mean, gosh, I can't tell you how many homes I've gone into where I'll ask someone, hey, so has your doctor requested some lab work? And they'll say, oh yeah. And I'll ask, did you get it done? No, but I've got the sheet. And then I'll find the lab sheet, and it's on the refrigerator under a magnet, but it's under a menu or something from a restaurant. they totally disregard it. They don't go and follow through with their health care. So that's really important. And the other way we can practice good self-care is within the relationships that we have with the friends, when the family members, right? So we want to make sure that those are healthy relationships, because sometimes we feel like we've got to take on a lot of extra stress because that's just the way things are. And that's going right back to the cycle, right? That we were talking about, those cycles that we have difficulty breaking away from. So, so that was one of the ways that we can take care of those dormant buds, right? Because they're very fragile, like I was saying, and we've got all these things that we are in control of. So now let's talk a little bit about increasing fruitful production and quality, right? As the dormant buds begin to wake up, we need to continually and intentionally nourish them, right? So we're going to keep in touch with the different resources we have. People need to be taught that once you've graduated from this place, once you've started this new job, once you've moved to a new place, it's important to keep those ties with the people who have really helped you out. I cannot tell you how many people I've run into at meetings or intentionally called them or whatever to say thank you. I called this one friend of mine. I said, I just want to tell you, she was one of my former supervisors. And I said, she knew me since I was like a kid. And I said, I want to tell you thank you because I had this major situation come up. And I was so grateful because I was able to draw from some words that you shared with me when I was, on my second year at this job. And it was during my evaluation when I asked you, how can I get around this tough spot? And you shared some pretty, some great wisdom with me. And so that's what I'm talking about, being able to go back and draw from the people who have helped us. And of course, making those new connections as well. And then focusing, like I said, on the effort and the process. That's really key in, with this mindset, a growth mindset. It's key that we focus on that part and not always think, but I've taken 10 steps back. Yeah, but you've taken 20 steps forward. We're moving forward, going through all the things that are going to come with the package we talked about, right? But we're looking at the big picture and how we're getting closer to getting there. Okay. And then we're also looking at the fruit that's coming through. A growth mindset, the beauty about that is it doesn't just stay in one place. Okay, it can easily spread. So when you bring that to the office, when you bring that to the Zoom meeting, when you bring that to a committee that you're working on, oh my gosh, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. The fixed mindset also can grow if we're not careful. That's like a bacteria that with the right conditions, oh yeah, that can flourish too. So we need to keep that one at bay, but we need to, really expand on that growth mindset. So, everything, our personal development, relationships, work endeavors, they all benefit from it, from that growth mindset. It's across the board. And we're bound to make mistakes along the way, right? And it's just important to be mindful of the learning opportunities that present themselves. Okay, I really messed up. I really, oh, I can't believe I said these words to that person. Why did I do that? Oh, okay, I was tired. Oh, I could, whatever the case may be, recognize it for what it is, and then we move forward. And we, of course, keep that line of communication and move forward with that. Tell the person what happened, how you felt, and you're sorry about it or whatever, and move on. Get around those roadblocks, right? And it's true, many of us with everything that's been going on this last year, we've learned to pivot. You kept hearing that term over and over again. Pivot, pivot, pivot. An essential word, because that's exactly what people needed to do. But we also need to remember, we're going to pivot and we're going to proceed. We're going to keep moving forward, right? So I'm looking at the thing. We're going to proceed. So that's, what I wanted to share with you. When we help these people to pivot, to move forward, they're able to more than likely stay longer in a position. They're figuring out that they can sharpen their decision-making skills, their critical thinking, their creativity, their communication. All those things take on, they take on a whole new level when they're given the tools to work with, to make things happen in that area. So, I'm so grateful that I was able to meet with you all today. I feel really privileged. I'm with the cycle breakers, right? The myth busters. And I mean, it's just like I said, I'm in awe of what you're doing. I'm so excited about what you've learned. And I'm just going to leave you with one thought. People say, you know, find your passion, find your passion, find your passion. And it's great. Passion is wonderful to find in something that you're interested in doing. But we also, I tell people it's also important to find your compassion. I loved working with people who had experienced brain injuries and helping them get back on track as closely as they could to the lives they had before, because people still need to go to work, and support their families when they can. And what I noticed is a lot of these people had underlying conditions that, when exacerbated, lead to a stroke. Things like diabetes, high blood pressure, and so many other things. But I also want to tell you, when we go back a little bit further, we look at the common denominator, and what is it? It's stress, right? Stress is usually something that is very impactful and can resonate through a lot of the different challenges that we meet physiologically. So that's the core of my compassion, I'll say. What I do because I want to help people decrease the risk of down the road having a stroke or a heart attack. And so when you put a face to something, when you put a person's the value of a person to something that you want to focus on, it makes a whole other difference. I mean, it just makes such a difference in how we approach things. So thank you.